You are watching
I
Xirtus.
recommend for the swine flu one, for the 76 one, looking at the 60 minute segment on that. Like we've
Yeah,
gone
that
over
one's
it before. We don't need to
crazy.
bring it back. We don't have to bring it up
Yeah,
necessarily,
but
but
oldie but a goodie. No, I'm doing it. It's
well,
actually
it
look.
ends there. That's the guy. That was the head of the CDC. He gets put on the hot chair. He gets caught in a lie big time in the 60 minutes. This is when you had. This is like an
Meanwhile, you have
example.
an unelected president who's just been put into power because Nixon's
There
had
he
to
is.
step down. I mean, you got Rockefeller running the country underneath Ford. This was the craziest, and the propaganda, dude. Like the propaganda in '76, the bicentennial that we're looking at is just completely insane. Look at this.
Well,
Roll up
there's
your
also
sleeve, America. Roll up
so
your sleeve, America. What
yeah,
kind of a wow? That's crazy. It's
The guy in the
right.
person in the chat says vaccines are awful, but couldn't they get the same outcome by putting the shit in our food, water, and air? No, because injecting something is different from eating something. Where our bodies are well capable of filtering out things that we eat, but when we're injected straight into the body, we can't.
Right, you're bypassing every single natural filtration system that your body has to like all these checks and balances to make sure like bad things don't get in. It just bypasses every single one of those.
Couldn't I just eat the heroin? Sorry. Yeah.
There's also an interesting one, which is the HIV epidemic, because, you know, I'm not even bringing up Fauci. I'm just saying that by the 1990s, tens of thousands had died because they marginalized gay men, Black and Latino populations, and intravenous drug users, with over 100,000 cases reported. I don't think that it's fair to say this is some sort of a conspiracy to spread the HIV virus, mainly because we're on YouTube. Anyway, keep going.
Mainly because we're on YouTube. It's a larger discussion. That BBC documentary of the origins of AIDS is highly recommended. And if you watch that documentary, like you'll feel like it's going one way and that they have one conclusion that they end up drawing. Like it goes, there's like 3 segments to it, and it seems like it just happened naturally this way because they're like following the paper trail and trying to figure out, like based on this book that this guy wrote about the origins of AIDS, and is this have legitimacy or whatever? And it gets this point where they pull out the vial. They found a vial from the time, and they're like, oh look, we don't find ape blood in the vial, therefore this wasn't the thing. And then they go to the location at the end, and then they interview the people who were there on the site, who were there at the time of the vaccinations of that particular tribe. And the people there, they show the row of cages, and they explain that they kept the apes in these cages and they used their blood for the thing, because you need, like, that's why we have things like squalene and these different, you know, you need it to be able to get distributed through the body, and having something organic is like blood. And you're like, well, it's, you know, similar enough to humans that it can you know, carry it through the body. But yeah,
God, this show is gonna get us in so much trouble. I can't already tell. But whatever.
I got a good pivot here. There's a
10 seconds. 10 seconds. So just Jeebus the Savior just asked. He said, "Hey, oh, by the way, Blake Lemoyne said good luck on the show. We should have him on soon." But Psyche meme. Okay, sorry. Let me repeat that. Jeebus the Savior said, "I miss APM, Advanced Philosophy Memes, on Facebook." Well, there still are 2 Advanced Philosophy Memes group. There's actually Psyche Meme Grosser APM, which is like the bigger APM group, which has the, you know, the psyche aspect to it. And then there's also Tartaria Futura Xirtus Greater APM. So you can definitely find your way back to Advanced Philosophy Memes APM on Facebook. There's a red and a blue pill version of it. Don't feel alone. You can always find your way.
I don't want this episode to get removed. You already had a strike. I'm sorry. Maybe there's other subject matter. Let's talk about celebrities.
Well, we should, but I don't care. I honestly really I can barely care. Yeah, Alex, go ahead.
Good pivot here, because something I found years ago was that, okay, I was looking into July 4th, 1921, which is the day of the Great Party, you know, at the end of The Shining, just like looking at the real life events. And then I sort of expanded the search to that month, July 21. And one of the things, sorry, is that I'm going to take a drink.
Bless you.
God damn it.
Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah.
Was the debut of a vaccine called the BCG vaccine.
That's right.
That was like July 18th, 21 or something like that. But a BCG is 237.
Oh, right.
So it's the 237 vaccine for tuberculosis debuted in the same month as the Great Party of The Shining. So
wasn't in a Clockwork Orange the serum that's used in the Levito technique? Was that that was 114?
Yeah, serum.
And so the bomb code in Dr. Strangelove is CRM 114. And then in Back to the Future, in the first one, when he shows up at Doc Brown's house and he turns on the amp as like the camera's going down, he's got it on CRM 114. Like you can see, that's clearly there. So there's like, a weird thing there, because you're like, well, what is being communicated? What does the serum from A Clockwork Orange have to do with the nuclear bomb code for like in Dr. Strangelove?
It's not even the code. It's what it is the discriminator. It's the decryption device.
Thank you.
That
right, because the code is keeps on
code.
Earth or some version of that. Right.
Right. And there's another one example in Men in Black 3, at the end of that one, which is a time travel story. They go back to the launch of Apollo 11, and at the very end, they're like coming out of a escape hatch or something, and on the wall it's written CRM 114, and that's at the same time that he's like witnessing himself as a kid in this time loop sort of situation.
Can
I reiterate that vaccines are good for you, America? Please don't get us in trouble again. Like, what do you want from us? I was also gonna say, I wish that YouTube incentivized me caring at all. Okay, keep going.
I think that CRM 114 and Fun with Dick and Jane with Jim Carrey.
You know what? F it. Let's keep going. Chester South. Let's talk about Chester Southam. You want to bring up? You want to bring this up? You want to bring in a non-consensual injection of the cancer cells into healthy patients? You remember this one, right? This is a fun story.
There's so many of these. There's so many of these.
1960. Yeah, Dr. Mary's Monkey and the David Ferry and all that. They were grinding up cancerous tumors.
There you go. The non.
Oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. Like, here's the thing: it's like I was saying this earlier, though. It's annoying how they say you're not allowed to do certain things on the video because they don't want the pharmaceutical companies, essentially, who are the biggest advertisement group, to refuse to use use the platform to advertise. Right. So if you're going directly up against the product that's being sold, I guess is the issue. And this is not just about YouTube. This is like mostly about actual television. Because if you can't sell cigarettes, you can't sell beer anymore, you get to the point where the main thing you can advertise is pharmaceuticals. So for CNN to say that everything in medicine and pharmaceutical companies do is completely safe, except we'll talk to you about it after the commercial break, and the commercial break is 13 different freaking pills that they're trying to sell or products. I mean, where is there going to be any sort of propriety or unbiased?
So what we saw in 2021 and 2022 especially was a point where Pfizer didn't have to advertise in any commercial breaks because the sponsored content was the program in itself. Brought to you by Pfizer over and over and over again. And it was like, so, that's a different level of advertising, right? Is when you literally
comic books too. There was a special free edition of the Avengers that got put out, I think in CVS or Walgreens. That anyone that went there, you got a free full comic book, Marvel comic book with all the latest characters. They're in all the movies and everything. And the whole plot was that they were heroes and you're a hero for doing this, and that the pharmacist is a hero. Like anyone in this comic is a hero. And
24 will be shown to you with a completely 60 minutes with zero commercial breaks, because the entire time they'll be driving Fords.
Ooh, right. Oh, speaking of Superman,
product placement.
That was Superman 2 had all the Marlboro advertisements. Like the whole final fight scene in that, it's hilarious because it's like everywhere you look, it turns to Marlboro. He's like gets thrown through a freaking billboard. It's like, oh, it's a Marlboro billboard. Oh, it's like it's everywhere. It's like, how much did they pay for that? It was like, it's crazy. Yeah.
Product placement in the show itself. That's a really good point. I think that's kind of the vibe we're going for. My God. I don't know. I mean, can they make a vaccine against CNN? Like that just makes it not work? You think?
Dude, do you know that Jay Bhattacharya looks like, fingers crossed, he's about to get his position as the head of NIH. And he was the writer of the Great Barrington Declaration. I've been a huge fan of that man for a long time. I'm thrilled. I hope to God he gets in there. It's just about as important as RFK Jr. So, if we get rid of the advertising for, these big, corporations to be allowed to sponsor the content as they have been, we should be having more discussions, and we won't have to be so worried on, things like this platform, fingers crossed. If it goes that way, we can actually have, open, full conversations about this stuff. I'm still holding back You know, like when I go to have
And we're cut off.
and we're cut off. Yeah, but I mean, I can tiptoe, and it's like, and you know what it feels like? It feels like in Pleasantville when Jeff Daniels is like told that he can't paint anymore. He's not allowed to paint, and he's like, and he's in court, and he's like, well, maybe if I just could use some of the colors, you know, or maybe you could tell me which colors I can use, and I'll just use those. Like, you know, it's like, can I just do the thing, you know?
You're all subscribed to like other things in YouTube, right? Like you guys have the Twitter, you know, like just in case. I'm just saying because it could be 2 weeks this time. But all right, okay. No, it's worth it. All right, I'm not saying to stop. I care more about this, and I don't care about that.
I'm questioning right now if we're gonna get punished for me talking about the official that's gonna get through his confirmation hearing to be made into the head of NIH. Like that's how absurd everything is right now. I'm like, am I going to get in trouble for, you know, for citing a paper that all these people from Harvard and Yale and all the prestigious?
I would almost bet money
CNN
right now that you would. If you pull up a wiki page on all of the non-consensual medical experiments in American history and just read it right off the page, at a certain point, you'd get that little notification.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. Well, I mean, let's read from CNN. Trump's NIH pick grilled on research funding cuts and vaccine views in Senate hearing. So Jay Bhattacharya, is that right, is running for the NIH, and it's Trump's pick, right? But he's been grilled because he says, I don't think there's a link. At a Wednesday hearing, a former physician who spent his career touting the safety of vaccines mentioned that an unvaccinated child has died in an ongoing measles outbreak in West Virginia. I've been told that you said that you think we need to invest NIH resources into looking at a possible link between measles vaccines and autism. I've not heard that directly. It's hearsay. Any comment on that, Cassie asked? Senator, it's a tragedy that children would die from vaccine-preventable diseases. I fully support children being vaccinated for diseases like measles that can be prevented from the vaccine efforts, right? I think that's going to be a number of the responses we've been seeing. It's exactly what I think pretty close to what Kennedy said. Bobby said something very similar to that, right? About measles.
The evolution of the definition of vaccine, because it seems that the definition of the very word did sort of morph.
Didn't start with castration, right? Originally, I'm not kidding.
The word itself has to do with cows,
right? I thought it has to do with the castration and the removing of the horns of the bulls.
Yeah,
that's the original. That's the vaccination process of the vacus.
Simply put, yeah. So but there's that, and then there's where it's been, and then there's what it ultimately has become, and so there's a nuanced issue, and some people could argue that that it's not significant enough to warrant that criticism that they had to change the definition to even call it a vaccine. I'm in the camp that that's exactly what happened, but
if they were more honest, they would just call it an antidote. Isn't that kind of what it is? It's an antidote.
Well, they can't call it that. So what happened is
the fact that they use that those words are interchangeable now is like deeply evil. Like it's deceptive.
It's true. It's that 2 + 2 = 5 crap.
So like you think vaccine and you hear vaccine and you think cure. It's like,
in order to get emergency use authorization, there couldn't be any other medication that could serve to be a treatment that was, that was a par or worked better than. And so that's why you heard what you did about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and just cutting it off and like, we can't even have this conversation, or even vitamin C. People were getting kicked off of getting strikes from Facebook for just talking about vitamin C in 2020. Like you weren't allowed to talk about vitamin C. It wasn't even like you didn't even have to mention.
And so that's a big change. Is with RFK's statement that everybody like freaked out about. Is like, it seems like the change is away from the vaccines are the only possible answer to the problem to here's a variety of solutions. Among them are vaccines. And by the way, we're going to start taking a look at those vaccines, and there's going to be some studies, and we're going to talk about that.